The concept of a hoax is a long-known trick used to try and relay false information in an attempt to fool an audience into believing that something false is actually real. This is something that I'm sure everybody watching has fallen for once or twice before. As great as many online materials are, such as the website Wikipedia, this of course isn't completely infallible, mainly due to the fact that anybody can go on and amend articles. And yes, whilst there is a number of controls and measures in place to protect from obvious trolling, there has been more than a handful of occasions where people have created entirely fictitious articles and tried to convince people that they are real. Today we are going to dive into the world of strange hoax articles and the even stranger world of people trying to get you to believe they're true. Hello! Welcome to Brain Spill, the laziest show on the internet. My name is Tank, and the nature of Wikipedia is that it is an open resource. Anybody can access it, anybody can find any information they want, but most importantly, anybody can make a contribution. A contribution to the knowledge of everything that we know. Pretty much. Yeah, that's right. Wikipedia, I'm making a video on you, so I expect my Brain Spill article to be ready by the end of the week. The nature of anybody being able to go on and amend the site gives way to many instances of abuse and opens the door to people adding or amending anything they want to. This has its benefits, but it also comes with great risk, as does anything when it's on the internet. And yeah, I should know. I once spent an entire day trying to amend the Wikipedia article for Dobby the House Elf and kept adding random made-up facts in there, only for a mod to keep reverting the changes every few seconds. It was a battle of endurance, I'll tell you that. But it was a battle well fought nonetheless. Who knew that Dobby the House Elf owned a jetpack and for some reason was able to decipher every single language known to man? Well, it's canon if I had anything to say about it. So, hoax articles. It's one thing to include a fake fact or a piece of information in an existing article, but what about creating an entirely new entry in Wikipedia? The idea is not impossible, with Wikipedia even admitting that this has happened many times before, and it is a whole phenomenon of people basically realising potentially years later that an article made on the website isn't actually true. With Wikipedia admitting that the idea of inserting a hoax onto the site is entirely possible, the consequence of a free encyclopedia opens the door for these sorts of abuses to happen. And whilst many measures are put in place to delete or revert many amendments on the site within hours of being created, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to find. The website has an entire list of known historical hoaxes created on the site during its history, with its purpose to document the hoaxes to not only improve understanding of them, but also how to best identify these hoaxes in the future. This list is long, very long, but some of the most notable examples are a hoax TV show released on the BBC that simply never existed, called The Heat Is On. The article was on the site for 17 years, being added on the 10th of July 2005, and only recently got removed on the 24th of July 2022. What's incredibly interesting about this list is that it actually goes into some detail about the actual checks and investigations that go into place to try and determine whether these articles are real or not. And on this particular example, people went on a bit of a deep dive to see if they could find any information about this entirely made up show. The only mention they could find of this was a comic relief one-off special using the same name, which could potentially be where this has come from. The article had no references to some of its claims it made. After being on the site for so long, it seemed to fly under the radar for an awful long time. Passing references were made to unreliable sources such as the Daily Mail and the Express, but that was about it. 17 years is actually the record for the longest hoax article to have ever existed on the site, in which the thread of people discussing this fact seemed astonished that it stayed on the site as long as it did. One comment even stated that the original article made all sorts of extravagant claims about winning a BAFTA and having cocaine-fueled prostitute orgies. I'm really sad this show doesn't exist now. Another article on this page referred to something called the gilled antelope, which was basically just a deer with gills that could breathe underwater. With the page claiming that this animal was real and that there were sightings, rare sightings mind you, in Cambodia. The moderator opted for what they would call a speedy deletion due to the fact that the creature simply doesn't bloody exist. Well, to be fair, that wasn't the reason given. It was more so down to the fact that there was nothing to suggest that there was any article or specific scientific description to try and support the fact that this thing ever existed. The only reference was a scientific explanation of an already existing and endangered antelope called the Samoa antelope. But not the fact that it could breathe underwater, mind you. Someone clearly had a bit of fun with this and then just ran with it. Another one was something called the Nuremberg Plate. This was a torture device that apparently existed, but again, little to no evidence of its existence has ever come to surface. The Nuremberg Plate is an apparent torture instrument used in the Middle Ages to early modern times to exert pressure on getting a confession from the unfortunate soul being given this obviously real torture device. The Nuremberg Plate apparently consisted of a rotating disc that was mounted horizontally to the floor. The disc was powered using a crank handle, and the victim would be locked into position with the movement causing the victim circulatory disorder, regurgitation, and equilibrium disturbances. Oh, spooky. Too bad it's pretty much fake, as far as we're aware at least. Yep, the Wikipedia buffs went into this as well and noted that, well, it was almost certainly incorrect or at the very least misleading. The article itself was therefore deleted after being up for more than 14 years. It still baffles me that these things can slip through the net and then simply just exist for as long as they have, without any real references to back them up. It's pretty crazy to me. After looking at the historical references that the page was referring to, there is no mention of a plate or disc being used to suggest that this was a form of torture that even existed. The hoax articles spread across every known topic and area, including an apparent retired footballer from Honduras called Nelson Larios, currently the apparently 16th top goal scorer in the history of the Honduran Football League. The article was up for almost 8 years without any sources to prove that this guy even existed. Some fake sources did pop up, but they led to an inappropriate and unrelated website, leading one to suggest that maybe this top 16 goal scorer is actually a top 16 hoax. See what I did there? Look, if you actually existed and you were the top 16th goal scorer in Honduras, maybe you did exist. But all I'm going to say is that maybe you should leave a shred of evidence that you actually existed before you part this mortal coil. So just some advice for everybody out there that maybe wanted to be on a Wikipedia article in the future. Either that, or in the alternative, the only thing you'll leave is a bunch of mods on Wikipedia arguing about whether you existed at all. So whatever you prefer, I guess. Whilst a lot of the items on this list are entire articles, some of the other notable changes are much more subtle, such as an entirely fake revision to the Wikipedia article related to the word bullshit, including a link to a further reading which stayed on the site for over 2 years. The links led to absolutely nowhere. Look, this list is massive, and I've only just scratched the surface here. There is a lot to unpack, and I'm really surprised that nobody's actually really delved deep into this list before. So if you did enjoy this, let me know, and I'm more than happy to make another video, or 2, or 5, or you know, however many it takes to get through the entire list. Just in case you guys want it, I'll make some more. Yes, let's dive back into this bargain bin of Wikipedia hoax articles. If you guys liked that video, here's another one just like it. I'll see you guys in the next video. Fantastic.